The stars shone brightly above the capital of the Xyrath Empire. Towers of polished metal stretched toward the sky, reflecting light in 100 different colors. The city was alive with activity, hovercrafts moving between platforms, alien merchants trading rare minerals, and the hum of energy fields keeping the city protected from space storms. At the center of this magnificent place was the palace of Queen Livra, ruler of one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Queen Livra was unlike any being Ethan Vale had ever seen. She was tall, her skin shimmering with a soft violet glow, and her eyes glowed with intelligence and curiosity. She wore robes of living fabric that shifted colors according to her mood. Her reputation was legendary. Not only was she a wise and fair leader, but she was also known for her strict judgment. Those who failed to impress her rarely had a second chance. Ethan, on the other hand, was a human, a species considered fragile and simple by most interstellar civilizations. At first glance, he appeared ordinary. He was average in height, his hair slightly messy, and his build lean but not muscular. His human skin looked soft compared to the durable armored bodies of the Xyrathians. Most aliens expected humans to be weak, clever only in minor tricks, and easy to control. Ethan had traveled far from the blue planet Earth to represent humanity at this court. His mission was simple: to ensure peaceful relations, to demonstrate the intelligence and value of humans, and to secure Earth's place in interstellar trade. However, he had a secret that even he himself had yet to fully understand: the true potential of the human mind and body when pushed to the limits. The ceremony was a spectacle. Beings from across the empire gathered to witness the union between a human and the queen. Some whispered among themselves, doubting the wisdom of Livra's decision. How could a fragile human be worthy of the throne's companion? Yet others watched curiously, sensing that humans might have something different, something the Xyrathians had never seen. Livra herself did not speak much during the ceremony. She observed Ethan closely, her violet eyes studying every gesture, every expression. Ethan bowed politely, careful to show respect to customs he barely understood. He spoke slowly, deliberately so that the alien translators could interpret his words clearly. "Your Majesty," he said, "I am honored by this union and will do my best to serve our peoples." Livra raised one slender hand, acknowledging him. Her voice was melodic yet firm. "Human, you enter my court with eyes wide open. I will watch your actions carefully. My people expect strength, wisdom, and courage. Let us see if you are more than what you appear." Ethan nodded, understanding the challenge hidden in her words. He knew appearances could deceive, and in the Xyrath Empire, perceptions could mean life or death. Yet he also felt a quiet confidence. Humans had faced dangers beyond imagination, and their greatest strength often came from adaptability, intelligence, and courage. The newlyweds were escorted to their private quarters in the palace. The room was vast, with high ceilings, walls of shimmering crystal, and windows that overlooked the bustling city below. Ethan marveled at the alien architecture. The palace seemed alive, almost as if it could sense emotions and respond to them. Livra observed him quietly. "You are far from your homeworld. Tell me, human, what do you know of our empire?" she asked. Ethan thought carefully before answering. "I have studied your history, your achievements, and your culture. I understand you value intelligence, courage, and loyalty. I respect that." Livra tilted her head, curious. "Many humans would be overwhelmed by this environment, yet you seem calm. Why?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans face challenges every day. We adapt, we survive. We learn. Calmness is not weakness, it is preparation." Livra's eyes narrowed, slightly intrigued. There was something different about this human. He did not tremble, he did not flinch. Even in a palace that radiated authority, he held himself with quiet confidence. Most aliens in her court would have cowered or rushed to impress her. Ethan did neither. Over the following days, Ethan adjusted to life in the palace. He studied the Xyrathian language, observed court protocols, and listened carefully to the discussions of the council. The alien ministers were astonished by his quick comprehension. He understood political subtleties, cultural references, and even predicted outcomes of debates before they concluded. Livra, ever skeptical, decided to test him further. She arranged small tasks that required intelligence, strategic thinking, and quick reflexes. In each test, Ethan performed not just adequately, but exceptionally. For instance, in a simulation of a crisis involving the palace's defense systems, he detected patterns of weakness and devised a strategy that even the most experienced Zerathian advisors had missed. The queen remained outwardly composed, but inwardly, her curiosity grew. How could a human, a species so underestimated, outperform her elite subjects in areas they had trained for centuries? There was a subtle energy about him, a blend of calm, focus, and determination that the aliens could not easily explain. Despite the court's skepticism, Ethan also began forming relationships with the palace staff. He treated everyone, guards, servants, and ministers, with respect. Unlike many beings in the Empire who relied on power and intimidation, Ethan listened. He asked questions. He learned from mistakes without fear. Slowly, he earned the respect of those who initially doubted him. One evening, Livra invited Ethan to a private stroll across the palace's open sky terrace. The stars stretched infinitely above, reflecting on the polished surfaces below. The city lights sparkled like 1,000 distant suns. "You have adapted well, human," Livra said, her voice softer than usual. "But tell me, what makes you truly strong? You do not have the physical advantages of my people, nor the natural defenses that your species lacks. Why are you not overwhelmed?" Ethan paused, gazing at the stars. Strength is not only about power or durability. Humans survive because we think, because we adapt, because we face fear and uncertainty without giving up. Even when our bodies are weak, our minds can achieve the impossible. That is our true might. Livra studied him silently, a faint trace of admiration in her eyes. Perhaps she had underestimated humans. Perhaps there was more to this species than she had imagined. The days passed, and Ethan continued to navigate palace life with intelligence, patience, and courage. He joined council discussions, often offering solutions that combined logic with empathy. The queen observed quietly, noting how humans could turn disadvantages into opportunities, how creativity and determination could overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Little did the Empire know, this human's presence was not just symbolic. Hidden within him was a resilience and capability that would soon astonish not only Livra, but all who doubted humanity. But for now, Ethan played the role of the unassuming diplomat, learning, observing, and quietly preparing. Even the most observant court members could not guess the depth of his potential. For Ethan Vale, this was only the beginning. The calm before the storm, the quiet before his true might would be revealed. And for Queen Livra, a ruler who had seen countless beings rise and fall, this human was a mystery she could not yet solve. A mystery that would challenge everything she knew about strength, courage, and the human spirit. And so, under the shimmering stars of the Zerath Empire, the unlikely union of an alien queen, the Zerathian palace was a marvel of alien architecture, but it also carried with it the weight of tradition, expectations, and endless scrutiny. Every corner seemed to hum with the presence of knowledge. Every surface reflected the accomplishments of countless generations. Yet, for Queen Livra, her attention was fixed on a single anomaly, the human she had wed. Ethan Vale had settled into the palace life with remarkable ease. He had learned the basics of the Zerathian language, mastered complex etiquette, and even grasped the subtle politics of the court. Yet what intrigued Livra most was not his intelligence, but the way he seemed to see what others could not. The first test came in a council meeting. A group of advisors debated the allocation of resources for a planetary trade mission. The discussion grew heated, and most aliens pushed for solutions that followed traditional patterns. Ethan observed quietly, his hands folded in front of him. Then he spoke calmly. "If we combine our trade routes with the neighboring system instead of splitting our fleets, we reduce travel time and energy consumption by nearly 30%. This also minimizes risk from space hazards." The advisors paused. Data projections appeared before the Queen, generated by their analytic systems. Ethan's suggestion was correct. The council murmured in disbelief. They had expected compromise, not efficiency. Livra's violet eyes studied him, a faint spark of curiosity showing. "Human," she said, "you have not only understood the problem but solved it in a way that defies conventional thinking. Do you always see paths that others cannot?" Ethan smiled politely. "We humans are used to thinking under pressure. We often adapt to challenges with whatever we have, rather than waiting for perfect conditions. Livra raised an eyebrow. There was something in his calm voice, his quiet confidence, that stirred a mix of respect and caution. Humans were underestimated, perhaps too easily. Over the next week, Livra devised small tests to challenge him further. Some were simple, puzzles of logic and pattern recognition meant to gauge his intelligence. Others were physical, though subtle. She wanted to see his reflexes, endurance, and ability to handle stress. In one trial, she presented him with an alien artifact, a cube of shifting energy patterns. It was designed to overwhelm most non-Zarathian minds. Ethan studied it for a long moment, touching its surface lightly, observing how the patterns changed with pressure and movement. Within minutes, he solved the sequence, stabilizing the artifact without any prior instruction. The court gasped. Aliens who had attempted the same challenge before had failed miserably, their minds overwhelmed by the complexity. Ethan had not only solved it, he had done so calmly, without visible strain. Livra's intrigue deepened. "You are remarkable," she admitted, though her tone remained measured. "Your species possesses patience and ingenuity that few can match. But do you also have strength? Adaptability alone does not secure survival." Ethan nodded, expecting the test. He was prepared. "Strength is not always physical, Your Majesty. Humans survive because we can act when others hesitate. We endure when others fail. And when the time comes, we fight." She regarded him thoughtfully. Her violet eyes seemed to pierce deeper, as though searching for something hidden beneath his composed exterior. She decided the next trials would be more challenging, tests that required speed, instinct, and courage, qualities she assumed humans lacked. The first of these tests involved the palace security protocols. Livra arranged a simulation of a breach, an intruder attempting to disable the palace's defense systems. Most subjects panicked under the simulation's pressure, reacting too slowly or making mistakes. Ethan, however, moved with calm precision. He observed, assessed, and anticipated every potential flaw, correcting them before they became a threat. The Queen watched silently from her observation chamber. She had expected errors, even minor ones. Instead, Ethan maneuvered through the simulation as if he had been trained for this his entire life. The court's elite guards were astonished. Even the most skilled Zarathian soldiers had faltered under pressure, yet this human was methodical, confident, and surprisingly fast. Livra felt a flicker of surprise, then admiration. "He is not like other humans," she murmured. "He sees patterns, adapts instantly, and acts decisively. There is more to him than meets the eye." Next, she observed him in social trials. Zarathians prized emotional subtlety, reading micro-expressions in body language to detect deception or hidden intent. She assigned Ethan to negotiate a minor dispute between two alien factions in the palace, expecting him to fail. The human approached cautiously, listening carefully to both sides. He did not impose his will but asked questions that encouraged dialogue. Slowly, the disagreement resolved itself not by force but by clarity and patience. The alien factions were impressed. They had not anticipated being guided so gently and effectively by someone outside their species. Livra realized something important. Humans were unpredictable in ways that the aliens could not anticipate. Their creativity, combined with empathy and observation, allowed them to solve problems that even highly trained Zarathians struggled with. One evening, Livra invited Ethan for a private dinner. The room was filled with warm light. The tables arranged with both Zarathian and human foods. It was a rare opportunity for candid conversation. "You continue to surprise me," Livra said, placing her delicate hands on the table. "Your intelligence is clear, but it is your composure, your courage, and your insight that intrigue me most. Most beings would be intimidated by this environment. You seem undaunted." Ethan looked at her calmly. "We humans face uncertainty constantly. We do not always have the strongest bodies or the best technology, yet we endure because we think, because we adapt, because we work together. Sometimes the impossible is only impossible until we try." Livra studied him quietly. She had faced countless beings, rulers, and warriors. Most were predictable, either arrogant or fearful. Ethan was neither. His calm, unassuming confidence was a strength unlike any she had encountered. "Do you not tire of being underestimated?" she asked, curious. Ethan considered this. "Perhaps. But being underestimated is not always a disadvantage. It allows us to act without expectation. to surprise those who think they know our limits. That is often when humans reveal our true capabilities. Lyvra leaned back in her chair, fascinated. There was a sharpness in him, an awareness that seemed to extend beyond the ordinary. Even now she realized she had no idea how far his potential might reach. The following days brought more observation and quiet challenges. Ethan continued to navigate the palace life with intelligence, patience, and humility. He treated everyone with respect, even those who mocked him or doubted his abilities. He listened, learned, and improved, slowly earning the trust of even the most skeptical courtiers. Lyvra began to sense a truth she had not expected. Human strength was not visible at first glance. It was not in muscles or natural defenses, but in the mind, in adaptability, in courage, and in the refusal to surrender to fear. She found herself watching him more than any other being in her court, trying to understand the secret behind his calm, unwavering presence. She arranged a final trial for this part of the story, a simulated crisis that combined logic, agility, and the calm of the Zarathian capital did not last. For centuries, the Empire had known peace, its fleets patrolling distant systems and its citizens thriving under the careful guidance of Queen Lyvra. But that peace was shattered one morning when a sudden alert blared through the palace. A hostile alien faction, the Draxari, had breached the outer defenses of the Empire's border system. Their ships moved quickly, and their technology was unlike anything the Zarathians had seen. In the command hall, Lyvra stood at the center, eyes narrowing as she studied the holographic display of incoming fleets. The ministers and military generals murmured, some in fear, some in disbelief. The Draxari had attacked swiftly, aiming for the heart of the Empire. "Prepare the defense," Lyvra commanded, her voice firm. "We will not allow this intrusion to succeed." Ethan Vale, standing quietly beside her, observed the display with a calm intensity. He could feel the tension in the room, but he did not panic. Humans had faced dangers far beyond their understanding, natural disasters, wars, and even the unknown of space exploration. Panic would solve nothing. Clarity and action were what mattered. One of the generals, a tall Zarathian with armor plated like silver scales, turned to Lyvra. "Your Majesty, we can hold the outer fleets, but the inner sectors may fall before reinforcements arrive. Should we evacuate civilians?" Lyvra hesitated for a moment. Evacuation would show weakness, but the lives of her people were at stake. She glanced at Ethan. "Human, what do you suggest?" Ethan stepped forward, pointing at the holographic projection. "We cannot rely solely on conventional defenses. The Draxari use tactics we have not encountered before. We need a combination of strategy and improvisation. Split the fleet. Let a portion engage directly, but use the remaining forces to flank and disrupt their formation. At the same time, protect the inner sectors with automated defenses and quick response teams." The generals exchanged skeptical glances. Humans were usually not part of military planning at this scale. Yet the logic in his proposal was clear. Lyvra nodded. "Do it your way, human. Let us see if your reasoning holds." As the Zarathian fleets launched into space, Ethan joined the command center to coordinate operations. The battle was brutal. Draxari ships moved unpredictably, their weapons devastating. Many Zarathian vessels were damaged, and even the most skilled pilots struggled to keep formation. Ethan analyzed each move quickly. He spotted patterns in the enemy's attacks, predicting their next steps with uncanny accuracy. He issued instructions calmly, directing ships to new positions and anticipating ambushes. The generals were astonished. No human had ever demonstrated such precise tactical thinking, especially under immense pressure. Meanwhile, Lyvra monitored Ethan closely. She noticed how he remained composed even as alarms blared and warning lights flashed. His mind seemed to work faster than the machines, faster than the most advanced systems the Zarathians had built. There was a quiet intensity in him, a focus that did not waver even in the face of danger. But it was not only his intellect that impressed the Queen. Ethan also displayed physical courage. At one point, the command center's outer shield was struck, causing a partial power failure. Security drones and emergency teams scrambled, but Ethan moved without hesitation. He repaired a critical console manually, climbing into tight spaces and bypassing damaged circuits, actions that would have been considered reckless by Zarathian standards. Yet he succeeded, restoring systems faster than any automated procedure could. Lyvra felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. This human, whom she had married as a symbol of diplomacy, was now proving his worth on the battlefield, not with brute strength alone, but with intelligence, courage, and unyielding focus. The battle escalated when the Drexari deployed a new weapon, a massive energy beam designed to pierce the palace's planetary shield. The generals panicked. The weapon could destroy entire districts, killing thousands. Livra's heart raced as she watched the threat approach. Ethan studied the trajectory. "The shield will not hold, but we can redirect the energy using the planetary defense grid," he said. "I will guide the operators. Follow my instructions precisely." With calm authority, Ethan coordinated the defense. He directed energy flows, adjusted shield frequencies, and moved defensive drones with flawless timing. The beam struck, but instead of destroying the city, it was diverted and absorbed, leaving the palace unharmed. The court erupted in astonishment. Not even the most experienced Zerathian tacticians had thought of such a solution. Livra's eyes widened. "Impossible," she whispered. Yet the proof was clear. The human had done what no alien had managed to achieve. The battle continued for hours, but Ethan's strategies kept the Drexari off balance. He combined conventional fleet maneuvers with human ingenuity, using distractions, feints, and unexpected tactics. He even adapted in real time when the Drexari changed their approach, showing a level of flexibility and creativity that the Zyrathians had never encountered. Despite the intensity, Ethan remained focused on protecting life. He ensured that civilian areas were shielded, coordinated evacuation routes, and instructed repair teams to restore damaged infrastructure. His actions demonstrated not only courage but also empathy, a quality that resonated deeply with Livra. For the Queen, each decision Ethan made shattered her previous assumptions. Humans were often dismissed as weak or fragile, but here was proof that they could outthink, outmaneuver, and endure even the most dangerous situations. Livra began to realize that human strength was not about raw power. It was about adaptability, courage, and resourcefulness. As the Drexari retreated, having failed to breach the city, Livra called Ethan to her side. The court was filled with murmurs, disbelief, and awe. "You have done more than any of our generals," Livra said, her violet eyes studying him intently. "Tell me, human, how do you do it? How do you remain so composed, so effective when others falter?" Ethan shook his head slightly. "We humans have always faced challenges. We survive not because we are the strongest, but because we keep thinking, keep adapting, and keep trying. Fear does not stop us. Danger does not paralyze us. And when others expect weakness, we often exceed it." Livra nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "You are different from what I expected. More than different. Extraordinary." But even as she spoke, Ethan himself felt a faint sense of restraint. He had revealed his strategic and physical abilities, yet he knew there was more. Capabilities he had yet to show. Hidden potential that the aliens had no idea about. He had restrained himself not out of fear, but out of timing and wisdom. The true measure of his power had yet to be revealed. In the aftermath of the battle, the city slowly returned to normal. Repair teams worked tirelessly, rebuilding damaged districts and restoring the defense systems. Citizens whispered about the human who had turned the tide, many of them astonished that one being could outthink their entire military. Livra walked among the people with Ethan, observing the admiration and respect growing for him. She could see it in their eyes. The Zerathian capital had recovered from the initial attack, but peace was fragile. Whispers of the Drexari's return circulated through the streets and the palace halls. The Zerathian council worked tirelessly, coordinating fleet patrols and strengthening defenses. Yet unease lingered like a shadow over the city. Queen Livra stood in her observation chamber, her violet eyes fixed on the stars. Even after Ethan's remarkable display during the first attack, she could not ignore the tension in the air. She had begun to see him differently, not merely as a diplomatic figure, but as a being whose abilities defied conventional understanding. Yet she sensed that the human had still held back something. Ethan, meanwhile, prepared quietly. He had observed the Drexari's tactics and patterns, analyzed their fleet movements, and anticipated their next strike. He had already protected the city once, but he knew that the next wave would be more dangerous. This time, the threat was not only to the capital, but to countless lives across the planetary system. The alert came just before dawn. Drexari warships emerged from hyperspace at an unprecedented speed. converging toward the planet in a coordinated attack. The city's alarms blared, and the defense grid activated automatically, yet the enemy's numbers and precision overwhelmed conventional systems. Livra's generals rushed to her side. "Your Majesty, this is unlike anything we have faced," one said, his voice tense. "Even our fleets cannot withstand this assault. Should we consider evacuation?" Livra shook her head. "We will not abandon our people. Ethan, your plan now." Ethan's eyes narrowed. He had prepared for this. "Divide the fleets into 3 groups. One engages directly to draw attention. Another flanks from the top and bottom vectors. The last group, under my direction, will strike at the weak points in their formation. But this alone will not be enough. We need a more decisive action." Livra watched him carefully. "Decisive action? Explain." Ethan moved to the control interface. His hands flew over the controls with a speed and precision no Zyrathian could match. Energy projections shifted, shield frequencies adjusted, and tactical commands transmitted in a fluid rhythm. Then he paused, his gaze steady and calm. "This is where humans differ," he said quietly. "We do not rely solely on rules or strength. We improvise, adapt, and act when others hesitate. What I am about to do will surprise everyone, including our enemies." Livra's curiosity flared. She had seen his intelligence, his strategic mind, and even his courage. But there was something else, a hidden depth she had yet to witness. She felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with concern. The Drexari advanced, their massive energy weapons charging. Zyrathian shields absorbed some of the strikes, but many ships were damaged. The council and fleet admirals worked frantically, issuing orders and redirecting forces. Yet the enemy's technology was unpredictable, adaptive, and deadly. Ethan activated the planetary defense nodes, linking them in a network that combined Zyrathian technology with his own improvisations. He bypassed protocols, rerouted energy flows, and synchronized the fleets with such precision that even Livra could barely comprehend it. Then came the moment of revelation. Ethan's body moved with unmatched speed and agility. He leapt from station to station within the command center, adjusting systems manually while simultaneously analyzing data streams. His reflexes allowed him to dodge dangerous arcs of energy, fix critical failures, and counterattack where automated systems could not. The Zyrathians gasped. They had never seen such physical and mental coordination. It was as if one mind controlled the entire defense network, simultaneously calculating outcomes, predicting enemy moves, and acting with flawless timing. Livra's breath caught. She realized what she had suspected for some time. This human was far more than he appeared. His strength was not just in strategy or courage, it was in the combination of intellect, reflex, endurance, and intuition, amplified beyond normal human limits. The Drexari unleashed their most devastating weapon, a planet-piercing beam designed to obliterate the core of the city. The council froze, convinced that destruction was inevitable. Shields were insufficient, and conventional weapons were powerless. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "We can stop this," he said, almost to himself. "We have the means, we just need to act." He activated an auxiliary energy matrix, a system designed for emergencies, and connected it to the planetary shield. Then, with movements faster than the eye could follow, he redirected the beam, dispersing its energy across the planetary defense grid. The weapon struck, but instead of destruction, the energy was absorbed and neutralized. The Drexari paused, confused. Their most powerful weapon had failed. The Zyrathian fleet, inspired by the humans' brilliance, pushed forward with renewed determination. Under Ethan's direction, the remaining forces flanked the enemy, striking at weak points they had not anticipated. Livra watched, astonished, as the tide of battle shifted. Ships moved in perfect synchronization, defenses reinforced in real time, and enemy forces were systematically dismantled. All of this was orchestrated by one human, her human. After hours of intense combat, the Drexari were forced to retreat. The Zyrathian capital was battered but intact. Citizens emerged cautiously from shelters, witnessing the fleet's triumphant return. The streets were filled with whispers of awe. The human had done the impossible. Livra approached Ethan in the command chamber, her expression a mixture of astonishment and admiration. You have done more than I could have imagined," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You have not only saved the city, you have saved countless lives. How is this possible?" Ethan looked at her calmly. It is not impossible. Humans have always faced overwhelming odds. Our strength lies not in physical power alone, but in our minds, our adaptability, and our willingness to act when others hesitate. Today I acted not alone, but with every system, every fleet, every person who followed my guidance. That is our might. Livra nodded slowly, comprehension dawning. She had underestimated humans, not because they were weak, but because their strength was subtle, intelligent, and unexpected. Humans did not need natural armor or overwhelming size. Their power lay in courage, creativity, and the ability to endure and adapt. The council members approached cautiously, still in disbelief. Your Majesty, the human one said, we have underestimated them entirely. This is extraordinary. Livra's eyes met Ethan's. Not just extraordinary, she said. History will remember this. Humanity will remember this. And perhaps we will all remember that strength comes in many forms, not just the ones we expect. In the following days, the city began to rebuild. Citizens celebrated their survival, and stories of Ethan's actions spread throughout the empire. He had become more than a diplomat or a spouse. He was a symbol of human potential, an example of courage, ingenuity, and hidden might. Livra spent long hours observing him, not as a ruler watching a subject, but as a partner witnessing the depth of his abilities. Every decision he made, every action he took, revealed a combination of intelligence, strategy, and strength that challenged everything she had believed about life. Leadership. The morning sun bathed the Zarathian capital in pale gold. The city, still scarred from the recent Drexari attack, was alive with activity. Repair teams moved quickly, restoring buildings and defense systems. Citizens emerged from shelters, faces filled with relief and cautious optimism. The battle was over, but the story of humanity's courage and ingenuity had already spread like wildfire. At the heart of the palace, Queen Livra convened a council meeting. Ministers, generals, and advisors gathered, their attention fixed on the human who had become the talk of the empire, Ethan Vale. His calm demeanor and sharp mind were now legendary. Many of the council members were still in disbelief, struggling to reconcile their expectations of humans with the astonishing reality. Livra addressed the assembly. The human we once considered a simple diplomat has proven not only his intelligence but his courage, his resourcefulness, and his leadership. He has earned our respect, and the respect of every citizen of this empire. Henceforth, humans will no longer be underestimated. A murmur of agreement passed through the room. Some ministers who had once doubted Ethan now nodded with quiet admiration. Others whispered in awe, realizing the significance of what had occurred. Ethan stood quietly beside the queen. He did not seek recognition, yet he understood the weight of this moment. His actions had shown that humanity's strength was not in brute force but in ingenuity, adaptability, and courage under pressure. Today, humans had earned a place in the galaxy's history. Over the next days, Ethan moved through the city, observing the reconstruction efforts. Citizens approached him, some hesitantly, some boldly, offering thanks or seeking guidance. Children in particular were drawn to him, fascinated by his calm confidence and quiet heroism. One young student asked, "Sir, how did you know what to do? How did you protect everyone?" Ethan smiled gently. "We humans face challenges every day. We learn, we adapt, and we never give up. Sometimes the solution is not obvious, but if you stay calm and think clearly, you can find a way. Courage is not about strength. It is about action even when you are afraid." The child's eyes widened. "So, humans can do anything?" Ethan shook his head with a soft smile. "Not everything, but we try. And when we work together, we can achieve much more than anyone expects." This simple explanation carried the heart of humanity's strength, one that the Zarathians were now beginning to understand. Meanwhile, Queen Livra observed him closely. The human she had married had not only saved her city but transformed her understanding of strength. She realized that humans were not merely clever or brave. They were remarkably resilient, adaptable, and capable of greatness when faced with impossible odds. "Ethan," she said one evening, as they walked together across the palace terrace, "you have changed everything. Not only how I see humans, but how the entire empire will see them. You have shown that strength is not always what we expect." Ethan looked out at the city below, lights flickering as repairs continued. I only did what was necessary, Your Majesty. Humans do not seek glory. We act because it is the right thing to do. Lever smiled. And yet your actions will be remembered for generations. You have bridged the gap between our peoples, not with words alone, but with courage and wisdom. I am proud to stand beside you. Ethan felt a quiet warmth. The alliance that had begun as political necessity had grown into something deeper. Mutual respect, admiration, and trust. Together, they had demonstrated that humans were a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. As the weeks passed, humans were formally recognized across the Empire. Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and joint research initiatives were established, guided by Ethan's careful diplomacy. The citizens of Zyrathia began to see humans not as fragile beings, but as innovators, problem solvers, and brave allies. Ethan also trained select Zyrathian teams in human strategies, approaches to problem solving, improvisation, and battlefield adaptability that the aliens had never considered. His methods emphasized creativity, teamwork, and thinking beyond rigid systems, teaching the Empire that there were new ways to approach challenges. Lyvra observed these efforts, amazed at the influence one human could have. Not only had he saved lives during the Drexari attacks, but he was shaping a new era of cooperation, learning and understanding across species. His presence was already transforming her empire, and the potential for the future was limitless. One day, Lyvra took Ethan to a quiet observatory high above the city. Through transparent panels, they could see stars stretching endlessly across the sky. You have done more than I imagined, Lyvra said softly. You have shown that humans are extraordinary, not because of power alone, but because of courage, intelligence, and adaptability. I now see a future I never thought possible. Ethan turned to her, his expression serious but calm. The galaxy is vast and threats will continue to appear. Humans are not invincible, but we can face what comes if we stay united, if we act wisely, and if we remain brave. Lyvra nodded slowly. Then we will face them together. As allies, partners, and equals. Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. For humans, the journey had always been about growth, understanding, and facing challenges without giving in to fear. He had proven that even one individual could inspire change and protect countless lives. And now, with the Queen by his side, the influence of humanity could extend even further. News of the humans' deeds spread across the galaxy. Planets that had once dismissed humans now sought contact, eager to learn from their ingenuity and courage. Scholars studied human adaptability, militaries considered their strategies, and leaders sought alliances that would include Earth. Ethan's actions had done more than save a city. They had redefined the place of humanity in the stars. The underestimated human had become a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and resilience. Lyvra watched him, proud and astonished. The Queen, who had expected a simple ceremonial spouse, now understood that humanity's strength went far beyond appearances. It was not brute force that mattered. It was the combination of courage, intelligence, creativity, and the will to act when others hesitate. The Drexari had been defeated, but the galaxy held many more challenges. Lyvra and Ethan stood together, ready to face whatever came next. Humanity had revealed its true might, and the universe could not ignore it. In the months that followed, the palace became a hub of cooperation. Humans and Zyrathians worked together on technology, research, and diplomacy. Humans taught improvisation and creative problem-solving, while Zyrathians shared advanced knowledge and interstellar navigation techniques. Both species learned from one another, growing stronger together. The bond between Lyvra and Ethan grew as well. Mutual respect deepened into partnership, built on admiration for each other's abilities. Where the Queen had once doubted, she now trusted completely. Where Ethan had once been cautious, he now acted boldly, knowing he had the support of a leader who recognized his true worth. One evening, as they watched the stars from the palace terrace, Lyvra spoke quietly. The universe is vast and threats are everywhere, but I know that as long as we stand together, humanity and Zyrathia can face anything. Ethan nodded. And we will. Humans do not give up, and now we have allies who understand that. The galaxy is full of challenges, but it is also full of possibilities. Together, we can achieve what no one else imagines. The human who had once been underestimated had changed the fate of an empire. He had revealed the hidden strength of humanity, not through raw power alone, but through courage, intelligence, and adaptability. And with the Queen at his side, the story of humanity's rise was only beginning. The stars above seemed brighter that night, reflecting the hope and promise of a new era. Humanity's place in the galaxy had been earned, and the journey forward was filled with endless opportunity. Ethan Vale and Queen Lyvra stood together, looking out at the vast expanse of space. For the first time in generations, the Empire felt a sense of limitless potential, and for humans it was a reminder that their true might, courage, ingenuity, and the will to act was something no one could underestimate. The galaxy had seen only a glimpse of humanity's power. The rest was yet to come.